this music turned down? We should be good. Mic should be good. Yeah. Okay. What's up? We got 8 games tonight, I believe. I think it's 8 games on the schedule. It's been a day where we've had some injury news, so we'll have to kind of go over some of the news that we've gotten earlier today that's kind of changed up this slate a little bit. There's one team today that's really like resting a lot of guys, and there's going to be interesting props, I think, that we could look at from that team that we'll talk about in a second. But we're still waiting on some injury news. One of the big ones that we got earlier today was James Harden downgraded to questionable. So that'll be something to monitor. We're probably not going to get that news during this stream since that game doesn't start till like 10 o'clock or something. But yeah, James Harden's questionable. We'll have to monitor that. And then the Nuggets, they're resting like all their guys. Jamal Murray's out. Aaron Gordon's out. Christian Brown's out. Tim Hardaway Jr.'s out. Obviously, they don't have Jokic. They don't have J-Val. So the Nuggets are very interesting tonight. I think there could be some value to target here for props, because if you look at the guys that are like projected, I mean, this is who they have to play. They only have non-available players. Right now, it looks like we have props up for 5 players, I think. If I'm counting correctly, we have 5 or 6 players. So somebody's going to have to play minutes. Somebody's going to have to play minutes. Somebody's going to have to shoot the ball. I think there's some value on some of these Nuggets props. We're going to talk about that in a second. I already took a prop on a Nuggets player earlier today. We took Deron Holmes over 20.5 fantasy. Got some really good value on that. Took that before Jamal Murray got ruled out. But I think there's also some other props that look good here. So we'll build out a slip on the stream. Probably give out like 2 or 3 plays. And then obviously we'll answer questions too. So if you guys have any questions for tonight, feel free to throw those in chat. But I want to say what's up to everybody in chat. Swag K, UEV, Geta, what's up? Trey Day says, first time catching the stream, can't wait to watch. Hey, or Trey Dot, excuse me. Trey Dot, thank you for tuning in, man. Appreciate you tuning in. Yeah, and if you have questions for tonight, you can throw those in chat. On these streams, I'll typically go live for, about an hour. Sometimes it'll be shorter, sometimes longer. We'll probably go live for like 45 minutes today. And if you have questions, we'll answer those. We'll, react to any injury news we get. So like if any injury news comes out on the stream, if any starting lineups come out, we'll react to those, see if there's any value that we can snipe. We did get some injury news right before I started streaming on Kobe White. So Kobe White is coming back from injury today, but he's going to be limited to 24 minutes. And it looks like his lines got bumped down a little bit, but not a ton. His PRA was at 25.5. It got bumped down to 24.5. I mean, Kobe White limited to 24 minutes at 24.5 PRA. Like, I kind of like that under, but I'll have to look more into that one. But we did just get that news right before I started streaming. And I think that's really it. That we're just waiting on some other stuff. But yeah, we did get the Kobe White available to play, but will be limited to 24 minutes. I'm guessing Kobe White will come off the bench if he's going to be limited to 24 minutes. So you'll probably see Trey Jones in the starting lineup. Trey Jones, 18.5 PRA. Doesn't look too bad if he's starting. Kevin Huerter should be in the starting lineup too, since Jalen Smith is out. I don't mind his fantasy score, but we'll talk about this stuff later. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and answer some questions. So if you guys have questions, feel free to throw those in chat. Someone's asking about Dyson Daniels' assist at 5.5 or 6. I mean, I want to say without Trae Young, Dyson's been like really good racking up assists this year. He's still sharing the ball handling duties with Jalen Johnson, but in this same matchup, last game he did have 12 assists. He's been doing a lot of ball handling lately, a lot of potential assists. I don't hate the play. I still feel like 6 is a kind of a correct line. I'm sure we could look at Dyson's games without Trae this year. Let's see. Because obviously, when you take Trae Young off the floor, it's going to open up a ton of assist opportunities because Trae just does so much ball handling. But I mean, you can see Dyson's played a ton of games without Trae this year. He's had at least 6 assists in a good amount of those games. If the line was 5.5, I'd like it more. At 6, I feel like there's push potential there. Obviously, you need him to get 7 assists. Honestly, I feel like if I was going to take one of those, I would just take probably the Demon line for a little bit of a higher payout instead of just like playing for a push. But yeah, I don't have much of a take on Dyson's assist. I feel like the line's correct, honestly. Jaylen Brown for 30.5 points. Yeah, I feel like every time Jaylen Brown plays, somebody asks me like about his points prop. He's been like consistently getting 30 points like every game this year. It's a good matchup. I do worry about blowout risk in this game because right now the spread is 10.5. I could definitely see a scenario where Jaylen Brown's at like 28 points going into the fourth quarter and then he doesn't play in the fourth quarter because it's a blowout. It's a good matchup. 30.5 though, I feel like that's a correct line. I don't have much of a take there, honestly. If I had to pick a side, honestly, I think I'd lean on the under. But that's a tough one. That line feels correct to me. Brunson, PA, in playoff atmosphere game. Let's take a look at Brunson's points and assists. That line's at 35.5. I think if I was going to take his points or his PA, I probably would go with PA. I mean, he's what? His assist line's at 6.5. So you would basically need him to get 6 assists or more for PA to be better than points. And I feel like he'd probably get 6 assists. He's had at least 6 assists in 2 of his last 4 games. 2 of those games he had 8 and 10. I don't think the matchup's that good for Jalen Brunson. Like, Asar Thompson's a really solid defender. But does matchup really matter for Jalen Brunson? It probably doesn't because he's just so good. He can win like any one-on-one matchup. He draws a lot of fouls. Asar fouls a lot, so if I had to pick a side on that prop, I think I would lean the over. I think I would lean the over, but that line feels about right to me. Okay, it looks like they just bumped that to 36.5. It was at 35.5. Since they bumped it to 36.5, I don't like it as much. If you were going to take something there. Maxi's 31.5 PR on Sleeper. That's another prop where it's like, I worry about blowout there. The Nuggets, the team that they're playing, the Nuggets are resting like all their starters. The spread in that game is, I think, 15.5. The thing with Tyrese Maxey is like, even in a blowout, he probably still plays like 34 minutes. But his lines are so high that, he probably needs to get full minutes to hit those lines. I mean, like you said, his PR's at 31.5. His points props at 27.5. Could he hit those numbers in 3 quarters? He definitely could. But I'm really worried about blowout for at least for like the Sixers starters. So like for Joel Embiid, for Paul George, for Maxey, I would be worried these guys don't play their full minutes. Because like, can Denver keep this game competitive with so many guys out? Probably not. Probably not. Trae Young's getting traded. I saw that. I saw that. I'm going to be very interested to see where he goes. I doubt we'll get that news anytime soon, like on stream, but it'll be interesting. I saw that the Wizards were in contact with getting Trae, that's funny. If Trae goes to the Wizards, I mean, I feel bad for him, but honestly, I feel like for his, like, fantasy value, for his, just in terms of putting up stats, like, he'll average 25 and 10 easily on the Wizards. Like, he'll be able to just put up a ton of shots. I would definitely worry, though, like, he would get blown out a ton. Or the team would get blown out a ton, and he wouldn't play full minutes, but yeah, that'd be interesting to see if he went to the Wizards. I wonder who the Wizards would trade for him. I don't know. I don't know what they would give up. Any slips given out till now? No slips given out just yet. Typically, I'll do those like a little bit later. Just kind of want to answer some questions first, and then we'll start to work on some slips. I was waiting for some injury news too. Like I was waiting to see if we would get some injury news, some starting lineups, because then we might be able to snipe off some plays. We should start getting lineups in about 15 minutes, at least for this Knicks and Pistons game. That we should get starting lineups for that game in like 15 minutes. I'm going to be interested to see if the Pistons go with the same starting lineup that they went with yesterday, where they go with Paul Reed and Isaiah Stewart together. Because if they don't do that, and Paul Reed goes to the bench, which could happen, I would be looking at some of his unders. What's up, Noah? My first pick is how you feel about Joel Embiid first half points, Nikola Vuce first half points. Embiid's first half points, I'd have to look at the line. Where's the line at? I would say I definitely am interested in that one. For one, it should be a great matchup for Embiid. without Joval, without Jokic, like he's going to go up against Zeke Naji and Deron Holmes. And Embiid's historically been like a first half player. Like I want to say he typically does better in the first half than in the second half. He typically starts out hot. Also, you don't have to worry about the blowout risk. You don't have to worry about the blowout risk in that game. So if you take Embiid first half, you're getting your normal minutes. It doesn't matter if the Sixers are up by 30 at halftime, like Embiid's still playing his normal minutes in the first half. So that's one I do kind of like, is Embiid's first half points. And then you asked about Vooch first half points. What's that line at? 7.5. I don't think the matchup's that great for Vooch. This is another game, though, that does have blowout risk. It's a double-digit spread. So, like, if I was going to take an over on Vooch, I'd kind of be interested in first half overs and not, full game because of the blowout risk. I don't hate that play. They still don't have Josh Giddey. Jalen Smith's out too, so the minutes should be pretty secure here for Vooch. It's not a great matchup, but 8 points in the first half, that feels doable, in my opinion. I would definitely take, if I was going to take a points prop on Vooch, I would take his over 7.5 first half points instead of the 17.5 for the full game, I think. Justin says, let's get this money. Let's get it, Justin. Let's get it, my man. Feel good about today. I really like this slate. And I'm kind of interested to talk through some of these these Denver guys, because I think there is some value on Denver tonight, for props at least. Do you like Khan for 10 points as a Goblin? Well, first off, I typically don't ever play the Demons and the Goblins, because the payouts you get on those are just not as good as what they should be. You can literally go on a sports book, put the same slip in with Demons and Goblins, and it'll pay out more than what Prizepicks is giving you. I get it if you want to just try and find something that has a high hit rate, which Con 10 points I'm sure has a high hit rate, but the payout you're going to get on that is so small, I'm assuming. It's just not worth it in my opinion. There's too many ways things could go wrong for Con to not get 10 points. They get blown out, foul trouble, that I just feel like playing those super low alt lines is just not worth it in my opinion. Like I know yesterday, SGA 25 points Goblin was the most popular play on Prizepicks, and he didn't get it. He had what? Or he did get it, excuse me. I thought he didn't get it. He had 25 points yesterday, but it was down to the wire. It was sweaty. I feel like people just play this every day. SGA 25 points. Just because it hits, it hits every day, but the payout is so little. If you take SGA points with this, it's a 2x payout. I just feel like that's not worth it. I'm sure you could take this exact same 2-pick, put it on a DraftKings or something, and it would pay out 2.5x. It would pay out way more. So that's my opinion there. You do what you want, but I personally do not recommend playing the Demons and the Goblins. It's very rare where those will actually be valuable to play. I think I could ladder Donovan Clingan's rebounds all the way up. What do you think? I want to say Utah's been pretty bad on the glass this year. They are getting Nurkic back for this game. He's been out some lately. With Nurkic back, their rebounding is probably going to be better. For Clingan, it's just how many minutes can he play? Because he's always been a great rebounder per minute. It's just that some nights his minutes can get cut down because of matchup or whatever it may be. But his minutes have been pretty good lately. He played 34 last game, 29 the game before that. He did only have 17 against OKC, 17 minutes, but that was a blowout. I could see laddering Clingan rebounds, but I will say I think Utah with Nurkic has not been they've been okay on the glass. I could be wrong though. Playoff atmosphere game in January. That's kind of a big Eastern Conference game, Pistons and Knicks, and it's in Detroit. Pretty sure those two teams played in the playoffs last year, right? Pretty sure, yeah, they did. And it was a good, a big game. Okay, Steven Adams will start, so he was questionable. He's going to start with Şengün out. That's interesting. I was looking at some Steven Adams props, but I wasn't sure if I was going to take him because he was questionable. But we might look at some of those now that he's starting. How do you feel about Cade Cunningham? Under 44.5 PRA. No Jalen Duren for those extra assists. Also going against the Knicks. I mean, if you look at... You could probably look at Cade's games this year without Duren, and I want to say he's been pretty good. Let me see. Damn, Şengün's going to miss 2 weeks. Tough. So Cade's played 2 games without Duren this year. He had 29, 4, and 8. So he had, what, 41 PRA against the Heat. And then yesterday, he had 27, 6, and 7. So 40 PRA. So 41 and 40 PRA in 2 games without Duren this year. What about, let's see, last season. Last season, 25, 9, and 4. So 38 PRA, 18, 8, and 8, 34. Yeah, triple-double. And then he had 26, 8, and 9. I mean, you do have to remember that, Tobias Harris is also out, too. I feel like 44.5 PRA for Cade, if that's what you got his line at, that felt like a correct line to me. His line's at 42.5 on Prizepicks. So I guess if you have 44.5 anywhere, the under might look good there, depending on what the odds are. But yeah, like that feels like a correct line to me. Cade's definitely had some... He's had some down games without Duren, but he's also had some, he had triple-double against Atlanta. Against Houston, he had 26, 8, and 9. I want to say the Knicks is like a pretty decent matchup for him. He's probably going to be guarded by Mikal and not OG, which Mikal's not as good as the defender as OG is, if that matters to you. It is a back-to-back, so like on a back-to-back, maybe they're not as sharp, not as efficient. Maybe they play slightly fewer minutes. I could talk myself into the under, I guess. Oh, you got under 44.5 when it was available last night? Well, then, yeah, I think that was probably a good play. Because, I mean, the line's 42.5 now. So, you made the right choice, I guess. Would I take under 42.5? I don't know, but under 44.5, yeah, that was probably solid. So it's a Derek White over 5.5 assists. I feel like it's a good matchup for assists. The Bulls typically have been like a team that gives up a ton of assists because they play fast. They're not a great defense. Again, there's blowout concern in that game. But I know Derek White's been doing a lot of handling this year. I think he leads the team in potential assists. If it's not him, it's Pritchard. But they're like neck and neck, I think. Let's see. Yeah, White's at 9.2 potentials on the year. He's definitely run a little bit hot. Like he's averaging 5.2 assists per game, or 5.3 assists per game on only 9 potentials per game, which is a little hot. But like let's look at the last 5 games. He's at 10.8 potential assists per game. So he's been doing more. He's been racking up more assists lately. I'm assuming based off his game log, yeah, he's had some assist games, good assist games lately. I think at 5.5, that's okay. I would have to look at like the sportsbook market, see where they have that priced at. Anytime I'm gonna take a line, like an assist or a points prop or a PRA, anything that's not like fantasy score, I always want to check the sportsbook market just to see where they have the odds at, because that definitely would influence my decision a little bit. Right now on DraftKings, Derek White 5.5 assists is actually favored towards the under. That doesn't mean he's absolutely gonna go under, but that just gives you an idea of where the market kind of is valuing his assist prop. What do you think about taking props that get bumped? I typically don't recommend doing that. I mean, it depends on like the play. It depends on how much it gets bumped. But like if I give out a play, I don't know, what's a good example? Like just one of my YouTube plays last night. Like one of my YouTube plays was Draymond 16.5 PRA. I really like that prop on Draymond. And they bumped his line 2 points. Like typically 2 points, a 2-point bump is like not something I would take. Because you're basically missing out on the value. The value was on 16.5. Now they've adjusted the line to where it should be. So it's like, you're not getting the value that you would have gotten. Could he still go over 18.5 as well? He definitely could. But there are plenty of scenarios where he finishes with 17, with 18 PRA. And, you know, if you got it 16.5, you won. If you got it 18.5, you lose. So it all kind of depends. Typically, I would say no, though. I would not recommend taking bump lines. DaRon Holmes lines are so low for him starting. Yeah, so the Nuggets, they don't have anybody tonight. They have 9 available players. And let's see. One of those is Peyton Watson, who, you know, is typically a starter for them. So, like, on a back-to-back, how much is Peyton Watson really going to play? I have no idea. And then they have, like, an old veteran like Bruce Brown. Like, how much is Bruce Brown really going to play on a back-to-back? I don't know. So this is definitely, this feels like a spot where the Nuggets are just going to play these younger guys. DaRon Holmes, Jalen Pickett, Julian Strawther. Like, these are the guys that are going to get a lot of the minutes for the Nuggets. Holmes, he's started the last 2 games, but I think he got into early foul trouble against Cleveland. It was also a bad matchup. And then against Brooklyn, he only played 15 minutes against Brooklyn. But, like, they have nobody else. So this feels like a spot where DaRon Holmes gets pretty good minutes. I would project him for like 24, 25 minutes. I think him and Zeke Naji are pretty much going to split the center minutes. I think Holmes definitely has the upper hand. Like, Holmes, in a good scenario, Holmes probably plays like 28-30 and Naji gets like 18 to 20. Also, I think if the game's a blowout, I think Holmes would play in a blowout. Because, like, he's a young guy. Why not just let him go out there in a blowout and you know, get experience? So I took his fantasy at 20.5 earlier today, and I really like that play. Obviously, you know, without Jamal, you feel better about that because there's just more usage. And the fact that I think Holmes plays in a blowout makes me like it even more. But I was looking at some lines on Jalen Pickett. So Jalen Pickett has not played a lot this year. Let me see. He's only averaged... He's only averaged 12 minutes per game. He's been like, you know, into the bench guy. But there have been games he's played without Jamal Murray where he has done really well. So let's look at his game log as a starter. I think he started a good amount of games without Jamal last year. He started, let's see, 5 games. Or he started 4 games last year without Jamal Murray. Now, you got to remember that the Nuggets had Russell Westbrook last year. So some of these games were like with Russell Westbrook. But like on April 2nd against the Spurs, he played 35 minutes and had a triple-double. 17, 11, and 10. If you look who was playing that game for the Nuggets, a lot of the guys that are playing tonight, Zeke Naji, Hunter Tyson, Spencer Jones. You know, obviously Westbrook's not on the team anymore. DeAndre Jordan's not on the team anymore. But like you can see in this game, Aaron Gordon was out, Jokic was out, Jamal Murray was out. All those guys are out tonight. Now Peyton Watson will be playing in this game. But like this is probably what the Nuggets box score is going to look like tonight. Something like this. Like it's going to be, minutes are going to be heavy on guys like Pickett. Depending on who's starting. I think Holmes in line for good minutes if he can stay out of foul trouble. They only have 9 available players. So they're going to have to run like a tight rotation. It's not like they can really spread out the minutes. You can only spread out the minutes so much when you have 9 players available. And like Pickett, he's shown good ability as a ball handler. I was looking at his assist prop, 5.5. His lines have already kind of come up a lot today. His PRA, I think, was at 19.5 earlier. It's already come up 3 points. I think his points prop has come up a point or 2. His assist, though, has been at 5.5 kind of all day. And I was debating between like PA, assist. I just think Pickett's going to play a lot because they have nobody else. They don't really have a lot of ball handlers either. Like Bruce Brown's probably going to be the backup point guard, you know, when Pickett's not out there. So 5.5 assists for Pickett. Like he could have like 15 potential assists in this game because like he's just going to be doing all the facilitating. And I was looking at the sportsbook odds. I think he was favored to go over 5.5 assists. He's minus 120 on DraftKings for over 5.5 assists. I kind of like this as a play today. And we could actually look at his assist rate. You know, it's going to be hard to judge his numbers because, like, we're just not going to get a big sample. But if you look at this season, if you just take Jamal Murray and Jokic off the floor, it's going to be a small sample because, like, he hasn't played a lot with those guys. But his assist percentage with those two guys off the floor is almost 30%. It's, you know, it's only 60 minutes. He's only played about 60 minutes this year without Murray and Jokic, but he's got a 30% assist rate. For the whole season, his assist rate is, I think it's like 18%. Yeah, 18.9. So his assist rate goes up almost 12% without Jokic and without Jamal Murray. So I like Jalen Pickett over 5.5 assists today. I also like his over on PA. It's kind of pick your poison. Like, I think both of them are good. I just think he's going to play a lot. He's going to do a lot of ball handling. And I also think if this game's ugly and the Nuggets get blown out, like, he's going to play in a blowout. I see someone in the chat said Pickett under. Hey, if you want to take Pickett unders, go ahead. I would not feel good about Pickett unders, though, because I think he's just going to play a ton. So I really like that for today as a play. And then we'll see if we can find a couple more. We should be getting the Pistons starting lineups and the Knicks starting lineups here in a few minutes. We did just get Cade. Cade was probable. Duncan was probable. They were both playing. Karis LeVert, he was doubtful. He's out. So there we go. Yeah, we'll see if the Pistons go with the same starting lineup they had last game if they start Paul Reed again. Because if they don't, I'll be ready to take some Paul Reed unders if he's not starting again. But I think he'll start again probably. Thoughts on KD or Brooks props tonight with Phoenix playing the Rockets revenge game? I mean, I know KD's lines are going to be really inflated because Şengün's out. And I want to say KD's been really good without Şengün this year. Yeah, his points prop's 27.5. I mean, how many times has KD played the Suns? I think he's already played the Suns like once this year. So, like, is it really even a revenge game at this point if he's already played them? Same with Dillon Brooks. I will say, of any player, like, Dillon Brooks seems like the type of player that actually cares about going up against his old teams. Like, he wants to probably prove something. And the game's at Houston as well. So I'm sure every time he touches the ball, he's probably getting booed. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the Rockets fans actually like him. But I don't have much of a take on those two props. I feel like those lines are kind of set correctly. But if you want to play for the revenge narrative, I mean, go ahead. I think those teams have already played though this year. So how much of a revenge game really is it if you've already played once? What's up, Noah? You still like Draymond Green's PRA? With the line bumped up 2 points, I wouldn't take it, no. That's why, if you can, try and have my YouTube notifications on. I know I typically upload like late, like Eastern time. I'm typically uploading like at midnight, and I know most people can't watch then, which sucks, but if you can, try and have my notifications on. You can get the plays in as quick as possible. Because a lot of times, like, I'll do my videos the night before. By the morning, the lines have bumped. So it's just kind of, it is what it is. I just try and get the plays out, and hopefully whoever can get them can get them. One more note, do you like Denny Avdia fantasy score and Zubac rebounds? Denny Avdia's been really, really good this year. His fantasy lines are super, super high, but I feel like 53.5, that feels like a correct line. I will say the matchup is like incredible. I mean, the Jazz, they're a terrible defense. They're like the worst defense in the NBA. They turn the ball over a ton. So like it's a spot where Denny Avdia could get some steals. 53.5 feels like a correct line to me. And then what was your other question? Zubac rebounds. Yeah, so Zubac, he returned from injury last game and he came off the bench, but then he wound up starting the second half. So I'm guessing Zubac will be back in the starting lineup tonight. And he played almost 30 minutes last game, even, first game back from injury. Or he only played 21 minutes, but I think he was pacing to play more than that. Because I think in the second half, he got like a really big stint. Let's see. Where's the Clippers at? So Zubac, if you look last game, he came off the bench. So he subbed in with about 5 minutes left in the first quarter, played about 5 minutes. And he started the second quarter. He only played about 8 minutes in the first half. But then in the second half, he got a really long stint. He played about 8 minutes to start the second half. And then he subbed back in with 10 minutes left. And he might have played out those final 10 minutes had the game been competitive. But they subbed out all their starters with like 5 minutes left. So I think Zubac would have played like 26 minutes last game. Today he probably gets like maybe 28 minutes, 26, 28 minutes. I don't hate 10 rebounds. I do worry about, Golden State's a team that they can play small ball, they can space the floor, they could pull Zubac away from the basket. But if he gets 28, 30 minutes, I would feel good about him going over 10 rebounds. I do worry, sometimes bigs, like traditional bigs like Zubac, sometimes those guys can get played off the floor when they go up against the Warriors because the Warriors can play so fast and stretch the floor, and, guys like Zubac can sometimes struggle against Golden State. Let's see if we can find a couple more plays to pair with this Jalen Pickett prop. And we should be getting the Pistons starting lineup and the Knicks starting lineups in about 2 minutes. So I'll take a look at those when we get them. But there's some other fantasy scores I was looking at for today. I've already given out 5 of them, 5 fantasy scores on Patreon. But I was going to see if I could find a couple more to share in this live stream for everybody to tell if they wanted to. One of them that I was looking at was Colin Murray Boyles. So he started last game. He didn't play very well. Most of that was, for one, Sandro Mamukelashvili came off the bench and went nuclear. Almost had a triple-double, played 32 minutes. They did play CMB and Mamu together. CMB still played 26 minutes, even with Mamu getting 32 minutes. So the fact that you can get some overlap with those guys is definitely good. Atlanta's a great matchup, so this should be a spot where CMB can be productive. He wasn't productive last game, but I kind of like this play if CMB's going to start again. Again, he played 26 minutes last game. I feel like that was kind of his floor. If Mamu wasn't going nuclear, CMB probably would have played more. I do worry that he might not start again. That's a little concerning, but if he is starting, I do like him for more than 21.5 fantasy. And I think he'll start again. I think he will. So, that's a play I like. We just got the Knicks starting lineup: Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Towns, and Robinson. So they are going double big. I thought there was a chance they might start Miles McBride, but they're going with Robinson again. So if you took the Robinson PRA, which I gave out on YouTube last night, feel good about that one now that he's confirmed starting. 21.5 fantasy for Mitch as a starter. I don't hate that. I don't hate that. I'm waiting for this Pistons starting lineup. Are they going to start Paul Reed again? Are they going to start him again? Let's see. We should be getting that lineup in literally 1 minute. We got the Knicks starting lineup, and this was with Robinson. Let's take a look at some of these other fantasy scores. Harden's questionable. We could lean into Harden not playing. If Harden doesn't play, Chris Dunn, 21.5 fantasy would look really good. Chris Dunn's a guy that should really benefit if Harden's out. That's one of those plays it could still hit even if Harden plays. If Harden doesn't play, you're going to feel really good about it hitting. So that's one we maybe could take. Let me look at Chris Dunn's games this year. So he's played 2 games without Harden this year. 21.4 fantasy in 24 minutes, and then 23 fantasy in 31 minutes. I'm guessing he only played 24 minutes in this game because it was a blowout, maybe? Or it looks like they just spread out the minutes. I mean, this was back when Chris Paul was getting minutes. Like, yeah, it's hard to really look too much into that. Also, Kawhi didn't play in that game. But this game against OKC, Kawhi did play in this game. And I mean, Chris Dunn played 31 minutes. That was almost as much as Zubac and Kawhi. His minutes would be really secure if Harden's out. Also, I mean, they would want him out there to guard Steph probably, because he's probably going to be the guy that guards Steph. Do we take Chris Dunn fantasy? God, I kind of like that. Let's see. We might take Chris Dunn fantasy. Lean into potentially Harden not playing. Because if Harden doesn't play, I'm going to feel really good about that prop. If Harden's out, or if Harden does play, I think it could still hit. I mean, he's hit in 3 of his last 5 games, and I'm pretty sure all those games were with Harden. See where his other projections are at. Okay, Pistons start Cunningham, Robinson, Thompson, Reed, Stewart. So they are going with Reed again. Okay. So his PRA is at 15.5. He should be favored for 2 stocks probably. Yeah, he's favored for 2 stocks. I mean, if he comes close to 15.5 PRA with 2 stocks, that should put him over fantasy, most likely. He's typically a low turnover guy. Like, I mean, his 1.5 turnovers line is a demon. Like, he typically doesn't turn the ball over much. It's one of those plays, like, it's gross, but like 7 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Like, that's probably 21.5 fantasy right there, and that feels more than doable. And if Harden's out, you know, that just you get more usage, more minutes, more assist opportunities. I think I talked myself into it. I think I'm going to do that. Chris Dunn, more than 21.5 fantasy. These will be our 3 picks for today, guys. Let's do it. I was thinking we might get a Pistons starting lineup change, and I could throw something in with that, but we didn't. So this will be our 3 picks. If you guys want to tail, feel free. I would play more than $5, but you know, it's what I'm limited to. Can't get anything down more than that. So, but I liked all 3 of these plays, and I talked through all 3 of them. So let's go. Let's go pick it. Get some assists. CMB, rack up some fantasy points. Chris Dunn, get some fantasy points. I took Harden's over fantasy in my Patreon today. So I kind of hope Harden plays for the Patreon picks, but if he doesn't, we'll have like a backup with Chris Dunn's fantasy. And again, that's one of those plays like it could still hit even if Harden's at, or even if Harden plays. But I'm gonna answer a few more questions, guys, and we'll hop out of here. Duncan Robinson got bumped down. Any reason? Let's see. It got bumped. Well, I gave out his PA at 13.5. I'm guessing it got bumped up and then bumped back down. I mean, maybe just the market adjusting. There wasn't any injury news from Detroit that I missed, so it could be just like maybe sites out there that have projections. Maybe their projections weren't as high on Duncan Robinson, so they might have moved the line down. It could be that. I still like the spot a lot for Duncan Robinson. I talked about that in the YouTube video last night. No, I just had a question. Do you play fantasy and props for a full-time job, or do you have a 9-to-5 on the side as well? This is my full-time job. This has been my full-time job since I started doing it. I started playing daily fantasy literally like almost 10 years ago. And I started this YouTube channel 8 years ago. I played DFS for about 2 years before I decided to start doing content. Yeah, once I started doing content, I didn't have a job at the time. Like, I was literally living with my parents. Any money I made doing this was just kind of like, it was just side income for me. And then it luckily got to a point where I was making enough money where I could live on my own. And I moved out, and here we are. Never would have thought that, you know, when I started doing this almost 10 years ago, that I'd be doing it for a living. But I love it. I couldn't be, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. I love the challenge of trying to project out players, and, you know, every day feels like a new challenge when it comes to like player props. I love, you know, when teams, for example, like the Nuggets, when they have so many guys out tonight. Like, I love just trying to map out the rotations, figure out where the production's going to go. It's almost, yeah, it's like a challenge every day. But I really enjoy it. Obviously, you know, doing content's fun as well. Being able to talk about sports, get paid for it. I mean, I don't think there's anything else I'd rather be doing. And a lot of that's thanks to you guys. You know, I wouldn't be here if you guys weren't watching my streams, watching my YouTube videos, liking the streams, liking the videos. So thank you to everyone who, you know, watches the videos and the streams as well. Appreciate all you guys. Boyle PRA, good to take on Sleeper. Boyle? Who is Boyle? Oh, Colin Murray Boys. Okay. His PRA, you could take that. I think I like fantasy more, though, because if you look, he's favored for 2 steals and blocks. So, you know, he's projected to get 6 fantasy points just from steals and blocks. If he goes over his PRA with a couple steals and blocks, like, he'll easily go over his fantasy. And I could see a scenario where he only has like 14 PRA, but gets 2 steals, you know, a block. So typically with guys like CMB that have that steals and blocks upside, I mean, he had 4 steals and blocks against Denver, he had 2 against Orlando, he had 4 against Miami. These are the type of guys I like a little bit more for fantasy, because like they can just get there with defensive stats. So yeah, if you don't have fantasy on Prizepicks, at least I don't think I would take PRA, but that's honestly your call at the end of the day if you want to take that risk, I guess. Quick recap on your picks. I went up to pick up my kid. I missed on some. Okay, so we took Jalen Pickett over 5.5 assists. Just given the scenario, like Denver has only 9 available players. Jamal Murray's out. Tim Hardaway Jr.'s out. Like, they have no ball handlers. Their backup point guard's probably going to be Bruce Brown. So whenever Jalen Pickett's not on the floor, like, it'll probably be Bruce Brown that's doing a lot of the handling. But I expect Pickett to be out there doing a lot of the ball handling. And even if this game gets ugly, which it could, like Denver's 15.5 point dogs, even if they get blown out, I'm very confident Pickett will play in a blowout. So his minutes feel very safe here. And he had games last year without Jamal Murray where he literally put up a triple-double. Like, he's one of these players that can put up stats when he gets opportunity. So went with that as our first play, and then our other 2 plays were both fantasies. We took CMB over 21.5 fantasy. He started last game, played 26 minutes. I think he would have played more, but Mamu Kalashvili, one of his primary backups, he went nuclear last game. He had 50 fantasy points. He almost had a triple-double. If Mamu didn't play as well last game, I think CMB would have played more than he did. But it's a great matchup. His PRA line's at 16.5, and he's favored for 2 steals and blocks. So if he gets like 16 PRA with 2 steals and blocks, I mean, that's going to put him at like 23, 24 fantasy right there. I'm assuming he'll start again. He might come off the bench, but I think he'll stick in the starting lineup. So I went with that, and then the last play was Chris Dunn over 21.5 fantasy. James Harden is questionable. I'm guessing James Harden will play, but obviously if James Harden gets ruled out, that's going to be great for Chris Dunn. And even if Harden plays, I mean, Chris Dunn can still go over this fantasy line. He's gone over in 3 of his last 5 games. Those were all with Harden. It's a matchup where they're going to need him out there. He's probably going to be tasked with guarding Steph Curry, so his minutes feel pretty safe here. I think he plays like 28 to 30 minutes. If Harden's out, he could play 32 to 34 minutes. You give me 28 to 30 minutes from Chris Dunn, I feel pretty good about him going over 21.5 fantasy. Well, let's just look at his game log this year with 26 plus minutes. So with at least 26 minutes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 out of 16 games, he's gone over this fantasy line with 26 minutes. I'd be surprised if he plays less than that. I think the way he plays less than that is if they get blown out or if he gets in foul trouble. But typically Steph doesn't draw a ton of fouls, so hopefully Dunn avoids foul trouble here. But yeah, that's the 3 plays we went with for the stream slip for today, just to give a quick recap. What's your dog's name? I have 2 dogs. I have Thor, who's a bulldog. He's the one, if you ever watch my YouTube videos and you hear somebody snoring in the background, that's literally him. That's my dog. And then I have a dog, Loki. So if you're a Marvel fan, you know, you'll get that. But yeah, 2 dogs, Thor and Loki. Thor I've had for like 5 or 6 years, and then Loki we got like a year ago. It's a bulldog in a lab. I remember when you were trying to get 25K subs. Well done. Yeah, Denise, I see you in the comments a lot and in streams. You're definitely a long-time supporter. So thank you for watching the content, for tuning in. I appreciate you. Yeah, we've been at this for a while, man. I definitely would consider myself an OG, I think. Like, I've been doing this for so long. I never would have thought I'd still be doing it to this day, but like I said, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. I love the challenge of trying to predict the NBA and, you know, the NFL and college football. I love sweating plays. Like, I love to watch games and sweat my props. Look, I'm a gambler. I love to gamble. So enjoy these videos. Thanks. Hey, thank you, Odd Burnett. Thank you, my man. Thank you for tuning in. But all right, guys, I'm going to wrap up the stream here. Good luck tonight. Let's all win some money. I should be doing a stream tomorrow, most likely. I don't know how many games there are tomorrow, but you know, we'll go live tomorrow. Let's take a look at the schedule real quick. And let's see, because typically the schedule kind of dictates. Get down, Loki. Typically the schedule dictates you know, how long I'll stream, what time I'll stream. So we have 6 games tomorrow, starting at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So I'll probably go live. I'll probably go live at 6:30 tomorrow. It'll probably be a little bit of a shorter stream since it's not as many games. But yeah, you'll see the scheduled stream on YouTube either way. But good luck tonight, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, everybody.